While 4th of July is a day of celebration, it's also a day of increased air pollution.
But this wasn't the only dangerous thing about smoking. Matchmaking was one of the most poisonous jobs in the entire Industrial Revolution.
Children in firework factories across India suffer physically with bruises, burns, chemical reaction.
Got a lot worse than that as well, and what was special about Fairfield Road, the Bryanton factory in Bow, was that they had no canteen there, so there was no separate area for the women to eat their food. So they ate their food where they worked. So whatever bread, probably a bit of bread you brought in from home, the phosphorus all day has been settling on it, the particles coming out of the air settling on your bread, like a deadly seasoning, which when they then ate it and ingested it, would get straight into their mouths and into their teeth, through holes in their teeth, and it would start to decay the jawbone itself.
FireWorks released dangerous levels of particulate matter into the air, including soot, ash, and metals, all of which can cause serious health problems for small children, the elderly, and people with existing health conditions.
Doing that over repeated periods of time is going to have a big impact for those that are vulnerable to poor air quality. If you keep depositing it over a series of years, you'll hit that critical point where you'll start to have a problem with the concentration in the soils and in the water systems.
A 50-year-old woman with no history of smoking or respiratory disease may not seem like the most obvious candidate for a lung obstruction. But recently, a Kaohsiung woman matching this exact description was taken to a hospital with just this problem. Doctors were puzzled until they went to her house. There, they found elevated levels of PM2.5, microscopic particulate matter in the air. The source of all these microscopic particles? Incense. Like many in Taiwan, this woman made regular religious offerings of incense in her home. A simple test with a meter suffices to show just how dangerous this can be without proper ventilation. Concentrations of particulate matter can reach levels that the government says are unhealthy for all people.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism true crime deep dive video topic. Today I'm going to be doing the case of pure evil, the fireworks, matches, and incense sticks, and other industry files. Capitalism, deep dive, capitalism, match girls, pollution, biodiversity problems, etc. So let's get started in this YouTube video. Disclaimer, before we get started, I'm sorry I haven't been making any YouTube videos lately. And before we get started, all my YouTube videos that are related to this topic right now will be on the screen right now if you'd like to check them out. So let's get started into this YouTube video topic. Child labor has historically been a part of the fireworks industry in India and other places all over the world. It was way back in 1989 that a reporter had reported about the fireworks industry employing children as workers in India. A majority of these children are working in the unorganized sector, where small sheds and hazardous working conditions, low-paying wages are still very prevalent. In 2002, the International Labor Organization had brought out a report stating that the firecracker industry was not only the only one where children were present in significant numbers. The children were also employed in the industries that manufactured incense sticks and matches. There are some factories where children as young as 5 years old mix nitrate and sodium with their own hands. The situation is the same in other states around India and its regions. Despite the existence of Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act passed in 1986, there is no fireworks unit in India that does not employ children, or where children are not working in some form or the other. Contact with hazardous chemicals in the fireworks units. The children are supposed to wear gloves. The children are supposed to fill the gunpowder into the crackers in this rule. They are always in direct contact with various chemicals, and even worse, they have nothing to protect themselves like gloves, etc. Since their hands are exposed to sulfur, gunpowder, and aluminum powder. Their skins have scalded, as has been stated in a report filed in 2013 by the National Commission for Protection of Children's Rights. Children suffer from mental issues as well as psychological issues. In the last few years, 237 people have passed away and were unalived because of the absence of safety norms, and most of them were children. Coated in the explosive dust, children and their parents handle a potential disaster in homes and fields near Delhi to produce flurries of colorful stars that illuminate the skies. According to its findings, around 90% of children employed in fireworks were found to have contracted asthma, eye disease, and TB. Many of them were also found to be victims of psychological, physical, and verbal abuse. In an illegal fireworks unit of Dara village, exploitation of children and other workforce also appeared acute. They were paid 10 pays for making one cracker. A middleman, Prevalent, revealed to the India Today's investigative team that the police were in on this, and the police were paid enough to keep the business going. Many policemen in the area are greedy. They take their share of bribes and don't return. Around 25 to 30 people could have died in this village from the past from firework accidents, he said. Incense Sticks, child labor. 50 child laborers aged 3 years old to 15 years old were rescued from a gunny bag in an incense factory in Bangalore, were staying in the factories where they worked from 9 to 12 midnight every day. The children revealed about their daily tasks, including stitching jute bags and rolling incense sticks. Furthermore, they had to sleep in dingy rooms where they worked, and they did not bathe for days on end. About 10 children worked in a small 8 feet by 8 feet room, and an adult watched over them and kept an eye on them. It was also revealed that lunch break and toilet breaks were the only time they really had a break. It was noted that while the older boys were offered a salary, it was rarely paid for, and daily meal was basically the only thing they got, aka capitalism slavery. The signal turns red and vehicles come to a halt at the intersection. It's time for an Indian child to sell hard bundles of incense sticks. Standing in the sweltering heat, they knock on the rolled-up windows of cars to draw the attention of people inside. "Please buy 2 packets. I will give 1 packet free," he says to a driver. He gets no response from the driver, though, and another person approaches the car and requests a young woman with the same plea, adding, "I have not had anything to eat since this morning." The woman glances towards the child, and she gives him and her money, but doesn't take the incense sticks and just drives off. Child labor. Match girls. During the Industrial Revolution, match girls were as young as 4 years old to 16 years old that made matches. They made them by dipping the ends of the matchsticks into a harsh, toxic chemical called white phosphorus. This chemical was so poisonous that many girls developed phossy jaw, a bone cancer that literally disintegrated parts of the jaw, kind of like radium jaw. When a girl got phossy jaw, her face near the jaw gave off a green glow and slowly turned black, and then it would start to smell like pus, and eventually she would die from her cancer. Match girls worked long hours in factories, usually from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., with only 2 short breaks. They were not allowed to talk or even sit down where they worked, or they would be fired or heavily fined. Beatings were not uncommon at these factories at all. The healthy profits made by this capitalism factory were unsurprising, particularly as the girls had to have their own supplies, such as brushes and paint, while also being forced to pay the boys who provided the flames for watching of the matches. Through this inhumane sweatshop system, the factory could navigate these restrictions imposed by the Factory Acts, which was legislation created in an attempt to halt some of the more extreme industrial working conditions. Fully aware of the impact of the phossy jaw, the company chose to deal with the problem by giving an instruction of tooth removal, as anyone could complain of a toothache, and if anyone dare refuse, they would be fired and let go. final straw came in July 1888 when one female worker was wrongly dismissed. The factory tried to get its worker signatures from its workers refuting the claims of a toxic workplace environment. Unfortunately for the capitalist pigs, many workers have had enough and refusal to sign, and triggering off an outrage that subsequent strike that followed. In July 1888, after the unfair dismissal, more match girls came out in support, quickly igniting the walkout into a full-scale strike of around 1,500 workers. But it would take over a decade for the Bryant and May factory to stop using white phosphorus in its match production. And by 1908, after years of public awareness and outrage, the disastrous health impacts of white phosphorus, the House of Commons finally passed an act prohibiting its use in matches. Environmental effect, pollution, biodiversity loss, and health effects of all three of these industries. The incense industry, the fireworks industry, and the match industry. Fireworks are used to please crowds, celebrate big holidays such as 4th of July, Independence Day, Veterans Day, and end festivals with a bang, literally. But what is the environmental cost of the fireworks industry? A horror show for animals and wildlife. Setting off fireworks is a selfish act. Imagine being an animal, living comfortably in your environment, sleeping in your habitat, and suddenly being awakened by hearing a sequence of booming noises, like the Vietnam War, and witnessing unexpected bright flashes out of nowhere, yet unable to escape a horrifying experience. Unfortunately, this is the reality for most wildlife. According to the Humane Society of the United States, animals become frightened and terrified by these noises, resulting in them becoming lost, abandoning their habitats, abandoning their nests and offspring, leaving them to die, and suffering from health consequences, whether it be the stress of getting hit by a vehicle. They also affect pollinators such as bees and trigger people with post-traumatic stress disorder as well. A study using GPS trackers conducted in 3 European countries, Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands, shows fireworks' effects on the Arctic migratory geese birds during the New Year's Eve celebration. The research revealed that the geese flew away from their sleeping sites in response to the fireworks. They never returned back. Aside from deafening noises and disrupted lights, the aftermath of a fireworks display show consists of pollution and debris, such as shells and heavy metals, littered across the ground, providing opportunities for animals to accidentally ingest these hazardous materials and potentially die, or leading to illnesses and sickness. It doesn't stop there. Fireworks also pose a threat to starting wildfires, hence the word fire and fireworks. The areas that are already susceptible to wildfires, such as places that have severe desertification or where conditions are hotter and drier, embers and sparks produced from ignited fireworks have a higher chance of creating a flame that could lead to a destructive wildfire, consequently harming wildlife in their natural habitats and destroying the ecosystems. And while climate change has already increased the risk of longer and more frequent wildfires and drought, fireworks only add to the potential threats and the risk. During the 2021 4th of July celebration in the United States state of Utah, a wildfire started following a fireworks show in the city of Centerville, an area already prone to wildfires, leading to the evacuation of almost 100 households. When fireworks burst into the air with their colorful lights, chemical debris are left scattered across the ground. And one of the biggest problems with this is, it contaminates the soil and water. The chemical remains in the environment for long periods of time, easily absorbed by the plants in the area, and then it ends up in water bodies, which can also affect fish development and, aquatic ecosystems. Chemicals found in soil and water are one problem, but fireworks are also a massive cause of microplastic pollution in water, and one of the biggest, things of that. The river of Thames in England has an enormous and rather shocking increase in microplastic pollution content following the New Year's Eve fireworks show. Chemicals from fireworks do not just disappear into thin air. When burned and exposed to oxygen, toxic substances undergo a chemical reaction called combustion. This chemical reaction produces two results. short-lived entertainment, and toxic atmospheric pollutants. The temporary enjoyment of fireworks releases a host of contaminants that affect air quality and contribute heavily to climate change. Fireworks emit high level of particulate pollution as well as metal and air pollutants once again. According to the South Coast Air Quality Management District, these pollutants can contribute to negative health effects, especially for vulnerable populations. An average of 230 Americans end up in the emergency room every single day in the month around 4th of July of fireworks-related injuries. But mishaps are not the only potential setback of this 4th of July tradition. A new study published this week in the Journal of Atmospheric Environment found that fireworks release high amounts of pollution into the sky on 4th of July. Fireworks introduce 42% more pollutants into the air than are found on a normal day. Part of this increase is a spike in emissions of polychloride, a chemical in the Environmental Protection Agency that may disrupt the thyroid's ability to produce hormones needed for normal growth and development. The incense industry, incenses, contain a mixture of natural and unnatural ingredients that create small, inhalable particulate matter. A study in 2009 trusted source confirmed some of this particulate matter was carcinogen, meaning it could cause cancer and health effects in people and animals. Most of these cancers were upper respiratory tract carcinomas or lung cancers like asthma and cancer. Incense smoke has also been associated with the increased risk of heart disease. Indoor incense burning may be detrimental to cognitive function and brain function health in community older adults. The present findings have potentially far-reaching public health implications for cultures with widespread use of incense burning in homes, as worshiping rituals across cultures with combined population size of 3.2 billion globally. Such implications are particularly relevant for older adults given the potential health risks between indoor incense burning and VCI. Results of the study call for safer practice of indoor incense burning, for example by avoiding burning incense indoors or using safer alternatives. In the 19th century, once again, it was discovered that by adding yellow, now called white, phosphorus to matchstick heads made them easier to ignite. The demand for the new Strike Anywhere matches was enormous, creating profitable international industry. It also led to a new industrial disease that lasted until roughly 1906, called Phossy Jaw, was a relatively horrible disease, overwhelmingly a disease of the poor. Workers in match factories developed unbearable abscesses in their mouths, leading to facial disfigurement, bone cancer, and sometimes even fatal brain damage. In addition, the gums developed an eerie glow in the dark.